Hello and welcome to part 2 of our operator interface overview. This is Dan from EDM Academy, and in part 2 we're going to be covering operators' in-depth oscillator options. The first thing you'll notice is the envelope display with ADSR options. These controls can be edited with their respective sliders, or you can use the points along the display. If you are unfamiliar with the basic concepts of an ADSR envelope, click this annotation here for an explanation. Aside from the basic attack, sustain, decay, and release controls, Operator contains a few extra features that pertain to the envelope. The initial slider controls how loud the beginning of the attack stage is. The peak slider controls how loud the highest part of the attack stage is. The time to velocity control assigns velocity sensitivity to different stages of the envelope. For example, at 100%, the attack stage will be very pronounced at a high velocity, while the sustain and release stages will be much quieter. At negative 100%, the opposite occurs. In the bottom left of the display is an envelope looping function. In loop mode, the envelope will loop back to its starting point as soon as the decay stage finishes. In beat mode, the envelope loops according to your song's tempo and beat denomination. In sync mode, the envelope will loop like in beat mode, but it will always remain in sync with your song. In trigger mode, the envelope doesn't loop, but it ignores the sustain and release stages of your envelope and ends after the decay stage. Finally, there are velocity and key sliders which allow your envelope to be influenced by MIDI velocity and note pitch. Okay, that covers the envelope options. Next, let's take a look at the oscillator waveform options on the right side of the display. To switch the envelope display to the oscillator wave display, click the box next to Oscillator. Now we see a series of bars which represent the harmonics present in the wave. By default, a sine wave is selected, and since sine waves only contain a fundamental and no harmonics, we see one colored bar. Now let's select a square wave. Since square waves only contain odd harmonics, only every other bar is drawn in. Operator contains 3 sine waves, a variety of saw and square waves, a triangle, and 2 noise waves. However, the real power in Operator is the user mode. By clicking and dragging along the bar graph, you can draw in your own harmonic balance and create a custom waveform. As you do this, Operator's wave display will alter to show you what your custom wave looks like. I recommend experimenting with this feature across all oscillators to see what you can come up with. When creating a custom wave, you can reduce the amount of available harmonics by selecting between 16, 32, and 64 harmonic options. The phase option allows you to change the starting point of the wave. As you edit this option, the wave display will scroll horizontally to reflect your changes. The retrigger phase option will force your oscillator to start at the same point in the wave every time a note is triggered. This is usually a very subtle effect, but in some circumstances it can make a significant difference to your sound. The Oscin velocity option allows MIDI velocity to change the pitch of your oscillator. The repeat function draws in repeated harmonics past the visible bar graph of your custom waveform. This results in a more rich sound in the higher frequencies. At low values, the harmonics fade out very gradually as they move up the frequency spectrum. Higher values fall off more quickly. The feedback option allows your selected oscillator to modulate itself, as though you had a duplicate oscillator above it. This feature is only available in oscillators that aren't already modulated by another oscillator. If we head to the Routing tab and select the last option, we'll find that this feature is now available. And that covers everything in the oscillator option display. Stay tuned for part 3, where we take a look at the rest of the features available in Operator.